Welcome everyone back to the Ryan Harper Show. This is episode number 10. Thank you guys so much for joining me on another episode. We have tons of news to get into today. And also, before we get started, I just want to say that I have a poll going up on my X account. You can follow me on X at the Ryan Harper Show. There's a poll that basically says, at this current moment in time, who are you going to be voting for in the upcoming election? I want to hear your guys' thoughts. I want to hear your guys' votes. Go ahead and vote in the poll. Let's get your voices out there and let your voices be heard. Thank you guys so much. So let's hop into the first story of today, which is going to be the FBI is going to interview Donald Trump. In the last episode, I said that the FBI was wanting to interview Donald Trump, but I also said that I didn't think that Donald Trump was going to accept an interview from the FBI. Now, this would be like a private interview, obviously. It's not going to be like a recorded news interview. It's going to be a private one, but of course, news would come out on what they actually talked about, as it normally does. But now, apparently, Trump agreed to get interviewed by the FBI. It says FBI to interview Donald Trump after the shooting at campaign rally. Trump will sit for a standard victim interview about the shooting, which the FBI said is consistent with practices from any crime they investigate. So he's going to sit down for a standard victim interview with the FBI. This is what, everybody goes through for any crime they investigate. And I'm guessing we're going to get some news coming out about what they talked about, hopefully. Otherwise, it would just be a private interview, and this whole situation really doesn't matter, except for the FBI. The FBI is the only people that would really care about it. But who knows? I think news will come out about it, though. So if we dive in a little bit deeper, it does say that former President Donald Trump has agreed to sit with the FBI for an interview following the July 13th shooting at one of his campaign rallies. During a briefing, the FBI said that Trump would sit for a standard victim interview about the shooting, something it called consistent with practices for any crime they investigate. Kevin Rozek, the special agent in charge of the FBI's Pittsburgh field office, said that they wanted to get Trump's perspective on anything that he observed. Quote, just like any other witness to the crime. So they're trying to get his thoughts on it. They're trying to see if he, noticed anything before the shooting took place. Let's see his side of the story, essentially. And I think that's good. We definitely need answers from Trump and his team and the Secret Service and the FBI and everybody that was involved in this. We need answers, and answers are coming out slowly but surely. Actually, faster than I thought, okay? We're getting answers every day now, so it is kind of faster than I thought, but they're still coming out pretty slow as well, so we'll just have to see what happens over the next week. Now, Newsmax reported that House Speaker Mike Johnson called President Joe Biden's proposed changes to the Supreme Court a dangerous gambit, okay? Now, in order to give you some backstory here, we have to go over to this story right over here. Let me just find it here really quickly. Biden calls for Supreme Court term limits, okay? So this is what Biden did just recently, a few days ago. He called for Supreme Court term limits and code of conduct limits on presidential immunity. So it essentially says that the president's proposals would mark the biggest overhaul of the Supreme Court yet, leaving his mark forever on the nation's highest court, following developing stories. Okay, so that's the backstory of what's happening right now and how Biden is, calling for these term limits and calling for code of conduct limits, limits to the presidential immunity. So, presidents can't have immunity and do whatever they want. And essentially, that is what Mike Johnson is speaking on right now. So Mike Johnson said, President Biden's proposal to radically overhaul the U.S. Supreme Court would tilt the balance of power and erode not only the rule of law, but the American people's faith in our justice system. Okay, so that's what he said, House Speaker Mike Johnson. And you guys can let me know if you agree with that, of course. I'm not 100% sure on it. I'm not really that educated on what Biden actually wants to do here and the term limits that he wants to propose. I don't know how that would make any sort of change. I'm not sure. Once again, I'm just not educated. But you guys who are educated can let me know. It says Biden unveiled a long-expected proposal for changes at the Supreme Court, calling on Congress to establish term limits and an ethics code for the court's 9 justices. He also is pressing lawmakers to ratify a constitutional amendment that would limit presidential immunity, okay? Quote, President Biden's proposal to radically overhaul, this is what we just talked about. I don't need to read it again. But that's essentially what's going on in the President Biden term limit case and what Mike Johnson, of course, had to say. Now, Newsmax reported that Governor Josh Shapiro the person that we've been talking about, the governor of Pennsylvania, he has been like the most popular guy in terms of running for vice president under Kamala Harris. And now, apparently, he is the top guy, okay? It says Josh Shapiro tops Harris vice president shortlist. Mark Halperin, okay? So here's what it says. Pennsylvania Democrat, Governor Josh Shapiro, is the top pick to be Vice President Kamala Harris's running mate. So he's the top pick. And of course, this is going to happen in November 5th, presidential election. It says, appearing on Wake Up America, Halperin said Harris's campaign has already started to look at what his role is in Harris's administration. Okay? And, quote, he could help win Pennsylvania and would be seen as a responsible choice. Very appealing to a lot of people around the vice president, Halperin said. So that's what's going on right now. Apparently, Josh Shapiro is the top person to become the VP under Kamala Harris. I think that's a good idea because I actually think out of all the picks, he seems like the most genuine pick. So I think this is actually a really good move. Now, reported by Newsmax, men under 30 are quitting the Democratic Party in favor of Republicans and Trump. What's happening here? It says male voters under 30 are flocking to support former President Donald Trump and other Republicans, the Wall Street Journal reported. So men under 30 are quitting to go to Trump? So they were supporting Biden or Harris before, and now they're going to Trump. Okay, I think that is true, actually, because, you know, the polls are now showing that Donald Trump is winning, and there's a whole movement called Democrats for Trump, okay? So it's shifting. You know, the polarization that the Democrats felt towards Trump, the hate that they felt for him is kind of changing ever since he got shot and ever since, you know, they actually understand the stakes here and what they were propping up. Because the Democratic Party was propping up Joe Biden, okay? And they were propping him up as this, you know, legendary president, the best in history. He's so fit, but he wasn't. Behind the scenes, he was falling apart. He was so unfit, it was radically insane. And honestly, it's just elder abuse at that point. So, those people who saw the lies that the Democratic Party was telling them are now switching over to Trump. That is true, in big waves. But not only that, they're also switching to Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who is the third-party candidate in this race, and he can definitely win. Okay, so we have to look at all sides here. We have to look at Kamala Harris, Donald Trump, and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. If you're not including Robert F. Kennedy Jr., what are you doing? I mean, in some polls, he's at 19%. Some polls, he's at 15%. Some polls, he's at 9%. But still, that's a huge margin. That's a huge voting block. Okay, people that are really going to vote for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. instead of the two main candidates. It's just 100% a fact. And independents now outweigh Democrats and Republicans in 2024. They're 51% of Americans are now independents. The two major parties are crumbling before our eyes, and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has a real chance right now. Now, check this out. Joe Biden gave a statement, okay? And here's what it says. It says, President Joe Biden unveiled a proposal for the U.S. Supreme Court calling on Congress to establish term limits, an ethics code, and limit presidential immunity. Once again, this is what we just talked about. But here it dives in a little bit deeper. This is what Joe Biden actually said. So this is coming from Joe Biden himself. He said, this nation was founded on a simple yet profound principle. No one is above the law, okay? Not the president of the United States, not a justice on the Supreme Court of the United States. So nobody is above the law is essentially what he's trying to say here. And I agree with that statement, except Joe Biden has kind of been above the law. But every president has been above the law. I mean, let's be honest. Every single president in American history has always done something that is above the law. Come on now. It's all corrupt. The entire political system is corrupt from the Democrats to the Republicans, okay? Since history. It's insane. So Fox News reported that a report finds nearly 500,000 people in New England state can't speak English. Nearly 500,000. That's crazy. It says officials are challenged to urgently accommodate a record number of migrants with language services in the state. Okay, so migrants. There's a lot of migrants who can't speak English, and this is a real big issue because everyone in America kind of really just speaks English. And I'm not saying that's everyone. There's a ton of people who can speak multiple languages, But the majority of people, I feel like, can't do that. The majority of people just speak English. And so, when we have migrants coming across, millions of migrants, it changes up things because they can't speak English, at least not all of them. And that really creates a barrier in terms of communication within the country. So, hopefully, look, it's a whole thing to go into the migrant crisis. It's a whole thing. Look, I think we should lock up our borders. I think we should secure them. And then we should make legal entry easier, okay? Because right now, people are having to wait 7 to 8 years to get into the country before they get their green card of entry. That's insane. That's undoable, okay? We need to fix that. You should not be able to wait 7 to 8 years just to get into the country. You should be able to get in under a month, in my opinion. We should do that for every single legal immigrant who wants to come through. We should get them in under a month because it would fix all of our problems. It would fix the problem of illegal immigration because now legal immigration is just easy to do. It's easy to get in. And of course, we still need to go through the checks, the right checks, to make sure these people are safe to enter the country. As well as, if they're sick. This is a real big issue. We don't want them coming into the country and then spreading the sickness to other people. Okay? Similar to how, if someone was sick in the United States and we were illegally crossing a border, that country that we're crossing into wouldn't want us to come across because we're going to make their people sick. It's insane. It's just simple, bro. It's simple. It's absolutely simple and common sense that we need to secure the border, but we also need to focus on making legal entry easy because right now it's just destruction right now, okay? People have to wait 8 years to get into the country. I wouldn't want to do that. I would want to come in illegally if that was the case, okay? I would be like, nah, man, I'm coming in illegally. I'm just going over. What do you mean I can just walk right in? Or wait 8 years? No, we need to fix that right now. But it is insane that most of these people can't speak English, and we need to educate them on English if they're going to be in the country and actually be contributing members to society. But once again, they did break the law to enter the country, so that brings up the argument of should they be brought back. Okay, I'm not going to talk about that right now. I can go into that all day. But let's move on to the next story, which is from Fox News. It says, Vice President Harris repeatedly praised her pastor who blamed America for 9/11. Okay? Now, let's dive a little bit more into it. It says, the voice of leadership, okay? Reverend Amos Brown, a guest of Vice President Kamala Harris at President Biden's inauguration, could be a major liability for the Democratic presidential campaign as his past sermons and anti-American rhetoric come into focus. The remarks he made days after 9/11. Once again, he said that America is the ones who caused 9/11. He blamed America for 9/11. Now, I actually remember when the political commentator and streamer Hassan Abi, okay, when Hassan said that America deserved 9/11 because they contributed to it. And what he meant was that, we funded it and we were a part of it to actually make it happen, okay? And he was correct in definitely some senses. So I don't know if he's just being misrepresented here, this pastor, okay? I don't know if he's being misrepresented and he meant something else. But you can let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Now, Fox News reported that families of surviving Trump rally shooting victims thank the community for their support. Both injured men are recovering with prayers for a swift recovery for all affected. It says including former President Trump, okay, who got shot in the ear. Now, the person who isn't recovering, sadly, is Corey, because he got shot and he actually died the same day. Okay, Corey was a firefighter. He was an American hero. He shielded his family from the bullets so that they would not be hit. And instead, he was hit and it took his life, essentially. And we have to say rest in peace to Corey for being an American hero. Just such a sad thing that happened and a terrible way to go and just a terrible thing that happened that day. I mean, so much destruction happened. The shooter had to lose his life. Corey had to lose his life. 2 people got seriously injured, but at least they're recovering now. And then Trump also got shot. So it was a terrible day for everybody inside of America. Now, apparently, Google is banning the search phrase Donald Trump. So if you were to search it up on Google, and you were to search President Donald, and then see what comes up, don't fill in the Trump part, the suggestions that would come up is not President Trump, it's other terms that would essentially not give you the right search. So Elon Musk talked about this today. He said, wow, Google has a search ban on President Donald Trump. Is this election interference? Hey man, we've seen it before again and again, election interference, over time. And it always happens the same way, especially with social media companies, as well as the government collaborating with social media companies to take down users' posts that don't align with their political views or don't align with their agenda. We've seen it happen. It's just free speech censoring. That's all it is. It's just censoring free speech. And it says Google users who searched Trump assassination bid, including billionaire Elon Musk, get everything but it. Okay, so they're not getting the right searches. Apparently, he's being banned. Trump is being banned by Google. I don't know if it's 100% true, if it's a glitch. It probably is true, though. We honestly have to admit it. We've seen it happen before time and time again. So it probably is true, in my opinion. Now, check this out. Vivek Ramaswamy is warning the GOP. Okay, so he's warning the GOP about several hard realities they need to address before criticizing Vice President Harris. Why he says they're hurting our chances at the link in the bio. Of course, they want you to click the link in the bio, but we have more information to get into right here. It says, this is what Vivek Ramaswamy actually said. He said, it's not going to be good for America, and it's not going to be good for Republican electoral prospects if Kamala Harris is the president of the United States of America for even a short period of time, for even a minute. Okay, now you can let me know if you agree with Vivek Ramaswamy here. Of course, he's a Republican. He ran in this election, but of course he did drop out as, there was really no chance for him to win, at least this time around. A lot of people like him, though, and I think he's a great speaker. I disagree with a lot of what he has to say, but, I do think he has that leader figure, and he's also a really great debater and a really great speaker, so I'll give him credit there. But let me know if you agree with Vivek on this topic. Two more stories to go. We got News Nation reporting that McDonald's reports a drop in sales for the first time since 2020. Okay, so consumers are criticizing McDonald's for raising prices at even greater rates than overall inflation. But the company says its historically low menu prices are only up a bit. Is that true? Probably not, relatively speaking, and says that partly because so many customers have cut back on dining out in order to fight inflation. No, they're not up a bit. They're up a ton, okay? They are absolutely through the roof. What are you talking about? This is untrue from McDonald's here. I mean, there was, in some places, a Big Mac meal would cost $18. When has that ever been the case? Oh yeah, the prices are only up a bit. Yeah, right. It's a complete joke. And the final story that we have today is coming from ABC News, and they actually reported on the Park Fire, which is the fire that's going on right now in Northern California. It's huge. It passed 350,000 acres. Now it's past 370,000. And it is one of the biggest fires in the state history. Okay, not the biggest, but one of the biggest. Now, ABC reported that a California man was just arrested. Actually, he was charged. Okay, so he was charged with starting the fire. It says California man charged with starting one of the largest wildfires in state history. A California man accused of deliberately starting what has become the largest active wildfire in the country has been formally charged with felony arson. Okay, now that was from court records. Ronnie Dean Stout, the second, 42 of Chico, was arraigned Monday in connection with the Park Fire, which has quickly become one of the largest wildfires in recorded California history. Okay? So a very big fire. It's taken out literally the size of Los Angeles. That's the size of this fire. And this man started it. It's crazy how you can do this. How are we able to do this in 2024? During his first court appearance, he was charged with felony arson with an enhancement of special circumstances due to prior convictions. His arraignment has been continued until Thursday. Okay, so he started this fire, which is now past 370,000 acres, an absolutely monster of a fire that's taking out homes, it's taking out businesses, it's taking out wildlife, it's taking out animals, it's taking out people, it's taking out all of it. Just because this man wanted to start a fire, it's absolutely insane. Now, that's currently the last story of today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching episode number 10 of the Ryan Harper Show. I really much appreciate you guys. Every time you tune in, it helps us grow in the algorithm. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Of course, vote in our poll on X at the Ryan Harper Show to make your voices be heard. Let your voices be heard, man. We want this to be the biggest poll that we've done so far. Thank you guys, and we will see you on the next episode. Have a great day, and peace.